Hi, Kevin from Darby Training Systems here. Today we're going to be covering a general warm-up for the lower body. Again, I emphasize this is a general warm-up. This is really for more beginner clients who have some mobility issues. You still need to incorporate a more specific workout warm-up, especially as you get into more challenging or dynamic activities. So we're going to start off with the cat camel. So you notice my position. First thing, I've got these toes in dorsiflexion, or the toes are flexed, encouraging my ankle into dorsiflexion. I stack the hands under the shoulders. I'm not going to end range of motion. I look down toward my knees, and I look straight ahead. I do this for 6 reps. From there, I transition into something called our hip warm-up. The knees come together, and I start rocking the hips left and right, left and right. To make this more challenging, I can move my left knee up a little higher, and I rock to the side, I rock back to the 7 o'clock position, back to the 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock position. I can move my right leg ahead, same kind of idea, back and forth. And then I'm dropping out to the 4 o'clock position, 5 o'clock position, 6 o'clock position. Once I've done this, I can create just a big hip circle, creating some circumduction to prepare the hip joint for the activity that we're going to do. Next, transition into something that we call the hip opener. The heels are slightly wider than shoulder width apart, and the focus here is internal rotation of the hip, not driving the knee down to the ground. So it should look like this. Ideally, your knee should end up somewhere around your heel. So I'm doing an internal rotation of my hip. Most common error we'll see is you'll see both legs doing this. No, they're moving independently of one another. I'm moving the hip, I'm moving the hip, I'm moving the hip. You do this until you feel some of the tension start to release. Again, it's coming from the hip. If you feel anything in the knee, it means the focus is pushing the knee down to the ground, which it shouldn't be. Once we've done that, we're going to move into our hip flexor series. Position this way. You're going to inhale, and on the exhale, you're going to rock forward, keeping a fairly upright torso. It doesn't have to. You're not trying to get hyperextended in the lumbar. You're simply keeping the torso in a more upright angle. So in this position, I should feel a stretch or release along the muscles that flex the hip. I reach my head up to the ceiling, and then I wave forward coming out of this. This is the stretch wave from stretch to win. I'll do 2 in each position. Inhale, exhale. As I exhale, I reach forward with my chin. Progression 2, I extend my hand up to the ceiling. The heel of my hand is reaching toward the ceiling, and my bicep should be behind my ear. Inhale, exhale, I reach forward, and then I reach forward with my arm. Again, one more time. As I'm lunging forward here, my hand is extending up to the ceiling, and I reach forward. Third part of the series, I'm forward, my hand's going to the ceiling, and I push my hip out to the side, and I wave out. I'm forward, my hip goes out to the side, and I reach forward. The final part of the sequence, I'm pushing forward, my hip, and now I'm going to turn my face and my hand up to the ceiling, and I reach forward. Again, I'm forward in the deepest position, my hip, face, and hand are both going toward the ceiling, and I reach forward. From that position, and I'll just change the angle so you can see it, everything's the same, except if my foot is at 12 o'clock, I now step my foot out to 1 o'clock, and I rock forward, opening up, creating as much distance as I can between the knees, and I can simply reach back with this arm. My torso is always facing straight ahead. Ease off, step out a little further, rock in that position as much distance I get between the knees, and open my hand up Again, my torso is always facing forward. And if you want to add a bonus, I rock forward. For those of you who are pretty good, you should be able to drop that inside heel down to the ground and just open that hand up to really feel this area of the body opening right up. From that position, transition into our heel presses. So from this position, we just start to push our heels down to the ground. Your heels should touch the ground, so if you need to walk yourself back or you need to walk yourself closer, whatever position that you need to get those heels down. As you walk them further back, should be a little bit more challenge to get the heels down. So you just do that for anywhere from 10 to 30 reps, just feeling the lower leg opening up. From there, we're going to transition from that spot back to our hip opener position. We just check in here. Again, the rotation is coming from the hip. And then I'm going to drop both my hips to the right. My hands are on either side of the knee. I stand as tall as I can. Not stand, I'm sitting, but I reach as tall as I can, the top of my head to the ceiling. And I reach forward. As I reach forward, my weight should roll up onto this knee. It's okay for your glutes to come off the ground. And you reach forward using the stretch wave again from Stretch to Win. I simply move my hands to the left, nice and tall, and I reach forward over that knee. Again, nice and tall, I reach forward over that leg. In that third position, I simply scan back and forth. Wherever the opportunities are for me, I can create some mini waves here, really opening that up. Next, I keep walking my hands back. This is an excellent opportunity to stretch the hip flexor, open up the hips for people who can't kneel. So from this position, I'm going to take the back of my head and bring it toward the sole of my feet. As I do that, I can rotate my chest to the ceiling. Again, the back of my head going toward the sole of my feet, and I can rotate my chest down towards the ground. You can add your arm in this position to increase the intensity of the stretch or the opening that's occurring. You notice that I'm not holding a stretch here. It's continuous movement, and that's what defines it as a warm-up. It's targeting fascia due to the continuous movement. I'm just adjusting the angle to open up the hips there. The whole time my head is coming back toward the sole of my feet. I'm rolling my chest down to the ground. I'm opening my chest up to the ceiling. From this position, I reach up, I exhale, and let it go. I reach up, exhale, and let it go. I simply walk my hands back and go back to repeat that hip opener position. I notice the hip opener position now is much easier, and we would simply transition over back to the hip flexor and go through the same sequence on the other side. A very effective sequence to get the body ready for what you're about to do in the gym. It's an excellent flow. It's not a stretch, it's a flow movement that prepares your body for movement. Remember, you have to be mobile to move.